Hook, have you ever felt powerless, like the very ground beneath your feet could be ripped away at any moment? Imagine pouring your soul, your savings, and every ounce of hope into your home, only to be told you have 72 hours to get out, to sell, to vanish. That was me. My world collapsed in a single letter from the HOA. But here's the part they never expected. What began as a nightmare turned into the most unlikely victory of my life. And now, the same people who tried to crush me are paying me triple rent forever. The envelope was thin, ordinary, almost innocent looking, but the words inside carried the weight of a wrecking ball. Notice of violation and immediate action required. My name at the top, my address below, and then the gut-punch sentence: you have 72 hours to sell your property or face legal seizure. I sat at my kitchen table, hands trembling, staring at the letter as though the letters might rearrange themselves into something less cruel. My home wasn't a mansion. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. The creaky porch, where my daughter learned to ride her bike. The kitchen where I taught myself to make bread when we couldn't afford store-bought. The garden where my late husband had planted roses before he passed. And now they wanted it gone. The HOA claimed I had violated community standards. Something about the paint color on the shutters being unapproved, and the shed in the backyard structurally improper. But I knew the truth. It was politics. It was control. It was power. They had been circling for months, whispering about redevelopment plans. I was the last holdout in a row of homes they wanted to tear down. That night, I didn't sleep. My daughter, Emily, only 12, asked why I was still awake at dawn, and I couldn't bring myself to tell her. How do you explain to a child that everything safe and familiar is hanging by a thread? I tried calling the HOA board. No answer. I showed up at their office. The receptionist gave me a smile so cold it burned. "You'll need to comply," she said flatly, as though compliance meant just signing a form instead of abandoning your life. Neighbors avoided me. Some whispered apologies, others looked away. They were scared too. The HOA had a grip on everyone, and no one wanted to be the next target. But here's the thing about me: when I'm cornered, I fight. I might not have money, but I have grit. And I had one weapon left: my story. So I wrote. I poured out every detail online: the letter, the threats, the impossible deadline. I posted photos of my home, of Emily's tree swing, of my husband's rose garden. They want me gone in 72 hours. I wrote, but this isn't just a house. It's our life. Within hours, the post spread. People shared it. Commenters raged. Strangers sent words of encouragement. "Fight this." One wrote, "Well, stand with you." Another messaged me privately, saying they were a lawyer who had battled HOAs before and wanted to help. Hope flickered where despair had been. And for the first time since that letter, I thought maybe I don't have to lose everything. The lawyer's name was Daniel. He was sharp, kind, and relentless. "They think they can scare you into submission," he said, scanning the notice. "But this isn't legal. This is intimidation dressed as authority." With Daniel's help, we drafted a response that was more than just words. It was a line drawn in the sand. We demanded proof of violations, cited homeowner rights, and threatened counter-suits for harassment. But we didn't stop there. The online support had grown into a wildfire. News outlets picked up the story. Reporters came to my lawn, microphones in hand, asking me to show them the letter. Cameras captured Emily's swing, the roses, the chipped but beloved shutters. Suddenly, it wasn't just my fight. It was a symbol of ordinary people versus corporate greed. The HOA cracked. They weren't used to sunlight. They thrived in the shadows of closed-door meetings and fine print. Now, every move they made was scrutinized by thousands of outraged viewers. Donations poured in, enough to cover legal fees, even enough to fix the very things they claimed were violations. But here's where fate twisted in ways no one expected. As the lawsuit brewed, developers who had been whispering behind the HOA's back came forward. Turns out, they needed my property. Without my parcel, Their entire project couldn't break ground. They had pressured the HOA to push me out fast. Daniel grinned when he explained it. They can't build without you. That gives you leverage, more than they ever imagined. Suddenly, I wasn't just a victim. I was the linchpin. Offers rolled in. First, they offered to buy it out for market value, I said. No. Then, double. Still, no. Finally, they came to the table with something I could scarcely believe. An agreement to let me keep the home exactly as it was, while they paid me triple the average rental value each month for the right to use my property as part of their larger development footprint. In other words, they couldn't evict me, couldn't silence me. Now they had to pay me forever. I signed, not out of greed, but out of vindication. Every check that arrives is a reminder that I wasn't powerless, that ordinary people can fight back and win. Emily still plays on her swing. The roses bloom every spring. And when I look at my little house, still standing tall in the middle of shiny new developments, I see more than a home. I see proof that when you refuse to bow to unfairness, sometimes the world has no choice but to bend toward you. And so, the same HOA that tried to erase me now sustains me. The same letter that threatened to break me became the catalyst for a story I never thought I'd live to tell. Because when you stand your ground, even against giants, you don't just keep your home. Sometimes, you win something bigger. You win your voice.